start, we can begin now,
Yes,
please.
ma'am, we'll begin then.
Hello, everyone. I am Mansi, and I'm here today to discuss the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication. Please let me know if you all can hear me.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, I have been given this responsibility to share with you the essential components of the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication, which I shall be doing through a PowerPoint presentation. So, let me take you to the presentation straight away. So, here we begin. Today, we are going to understand the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication. So, let me first let you know that this model has been developed by Dr. Vedavyas Kundu, though efforts have been made earlier as well. But the Gandhian model has been introduced in India, and as well as through the coursework, we are introducing it worldwide. And this model, the credits for this model are with Dr. Kundu, and he's the one who has initiated into bringing the Gandhian ideas on non-violent communication together in form of a Gandhian model of non-violent communication. To begin with, let us understand what was Gandhi's policy of action, of non-violent action. So, Gandhian policy of non-violent action has been termed as satyagraha. Satyagraha, literally speaking, will be is comes from two root words, which is satya in Sanskrit or Hindi means truth, and agraha. Agraha means insistence or holding firmly to something, and when you hold firmly to truth or truth force, because truth is considered to be a powerful weapon, so when you firmly hold on to truth, you are doing satyagraha, you are practicing satyagraha. So satyagraha is holding firmly to truth. So why are we talking about satyagraha? Because we have to understand the Gandhian model of non-violent communication. And as we had discussed earlier in a class when we were discussing violent communication, that man communicates every single second of his life, including women, of course. I hope nobody will feel offended that I have only referred to a particular gender. What I mean is that human beings cannot but communicate every second of their life. We are communicating even when we are not communicating literally, as in when you are alone, you are communicating with your own self through your ideas, through your feelings, through your ambitions, through your desires. So communication is a very, very important process in human life. Since we communicate every single second, so it is important to understand that how should we communicate, and it is through communication that we get our things done or our work done or our motives fulfilled. So communication should be in a proper and disciplined manner. Gandhi had adopted, had he had understood this idea that in order to persuade people, in order to make them understand what is right, because throughout his lifetime he has been insisting on truth and non-violence. So to make people understand what is um, appropriate for human peaceful coexistence, we have to resort to non-violent means of communication or non-violent action, which is called satyagraha. So whenever we hear of satyagraha, we need to understand that satyagraha is the Gandhian non-violent action, wherein the satyagrahi or somebody who is following the path of satyagraha insists on truth, because to Gandhi, truth is God. How? You see, everything that exists on this planet or in the universe, we always try to find out a scientific rationale behind its existence. So therefore, what can be proved, whatever yields results, is truth for us, and it becomes a ultimate reality. So Gandhi true believed that he to believe that whatever is true, whatever is good for human existence, is can be equated with the divine power. So our every endeavor, our every effort should be towards the establishment of God, truth, because truth is God. And let me here refer to his background, that Gandhi was a Sanatani Hindu. So therefore, he there is a concept of moksha in every religion, though has different terms for this concept of ultimate salvation. But Gandhi has been referring to this term moksha, which is union with God, and therefore Gandhi equated truth with God. That if we are moving towards truth, we are moving towards God. So now, how do we move towards God, or how do we move towards truth? Because truth is the ultimate objective of human life. So to in order to pursue satyagraha, what we need to do is communicate as an exchange ideas, feelings, and what we want, our desires, our ambitions. So communication, what should be that nature of communication? It should be one that is respectful, compassionate, and brings out positive results. That is, our communication needs to be non-violent communication. What is non-violent communication? Have you people has the class on non-violent communication already been done, or is it yet to happen? Anyone? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Every class so far has been about nonviolent communication.
No, specifically dealing with the definition and elements of non-violent communication. So has there been a class on the elements of non-violent communication so far? Okay, let's leave it. What I mean to say is, before we understand the idea of the core of the essence of nonviolent communication, we need to understand what Gandhi has been preaching throughout his lifetime. So nonviolent communication, as already discussed, is about being respectful, being compassionate, and then generating positive influences. So this is non-violent communication in crux. So the purpose of non-violent communication is to persuade. When we communicate, the the purpose of our communication should be to persuade the person, the opponent, into transforming towards the better standards of truth, or transforming towards what is right, coming towards the that side of the spectrum which represents harmony, which represents equality, which represents peace. So the idea of communication, according to Gandhi, the purpose of communication, or the essence of communication, is persuasion, because only through persuasion we can bring about a transformation of heart. So how can one persuade? That can be done through dialogues. Gandhi has been insisting upon dialogues between people, dialogues, direct dialogues in particular, because direct dialogues help people in understanding their feelings, their thoughts, their expressions in raw form, rather than being manipulated, or being changed, or being tampered with by somebody else. So to persuade a person, the dialogue should be direct or one to one, and the observation. So when I talk about direct observation, here the purpose is to let the other person know that how some actions, reactions, and gestures can bring about a change in the society. For that matter, Gandhi was working a lot in the area of removing a good number of social stigmas from the society, stigmas related to to women. For example, if I talk about widowhood, or if I talk about women being equal partners, being equal to men. So Gandhi, through the participation of women in the freedom struggle, and their through the results which were obtained, I'm sure you're aware about a good number of freedom fighters, the female freedom fighters, who have given a lot to the Indian freedom struggle, Sarojini Naidu being one of them. She even led this the movement which was Salt Satyagraha when Gandhi was put to behind the bars. So when people observe what are the results of some action, for example, the participation of women in freedom movement help them prove that they have equal potential to men. So through this you can transform people. So what is the means to transform? It is to persuade through direct dialogues or observation. The Gandhian model of non-violent communication rests on the pillars of non-violence, which, according to Gandhi, are respect for each and every entity on this earth, whether it be human beings or any other form in which nature exists on the planet and even in the universe. Understanding the perspectives of people, understanding your own perspective as well, because if you ignore your own perspective, you are being violent to your own self, you're being violent to your existence as a human being. So you need to understand yourself and as well as others in order to be non-violent in persuasion. Acceptance. You see, a good number of conflicts happen because we are not willing to accept the truth. We want to deny it in some way or the other. But when we begin to accept things, acceptance is very difficult, and that is why a good number of cases are pending in the courts. What happens is that we are dissatisfied with the uh, what the judgment comes from the courtrooms, and these judgments we want to challenge. We want our egos to be satisfied. We do not want the truth to be the supreme winner, and that is why these conflicts keep on occurring and reoccurring. So when we start accepting what is truth and move towards the better side of human life, we become non-violent by nature. Appreciation is very important in the Gandhian prism, because if you do not appreciate what is around you, you are disrespecting them in a way. Appreciating nature, appreciating people around you is important, because humans are, as it is always said, that the cliched expression that humans are social beings, they are interdependent on each other. So when you appreciate the efforts of others, your own efforts will be appreciated, and then you will be able to live in harmony. Compassion. Imagine a life without compassion, wherein you are self centered and you do not care about what is happening to others. You need to be, sensitive to the requirements of others, to the needs of others, to the feelings of others, because if you're not so, you are being inhumane, which is unbecoming of a human being. Why? Because you see, human beings are people with intellectual potential, they have intellectual abilities, and to have intellectual abilities makes it makes us much more responsible than the other forms of life. And our responsibility is to be compassionate so that people around us grow and we grow with them. So be.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry to interfere. We
Yes,
can
please.
just see the first slide. Have you been moving the slides forward?
Yes, I have been. Okay.
We are still on the first slide. We couldn't see the second slide onwards.
Is it?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me check, please. Just give me a minute.
And we can't see your video as well.
This video I have put off intentionally because otherwise I'll have network issues here. It has been raining from past 2 days, so I was not able to connect in the first instance. So I will switch on the video once I'm done with the PowerPoint presentation, because I cannot continue with both in together. So is it visible now?
Yes, it
Please.
is.
Yes, ma'am. The slides are changing. Could you please turn it on to the full slide mode?
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this, please let me know. And now I'm changing the slides so that we come to the slide which we are discussing right now. This I have already discussed. Pillars of non-violence. Okay. So now we come to the gun. Is this slide visible now? The cosmocentric
No, truth is God. The
truth is
picture
God.
of Gandhi.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am. Cosmocentric approach.
Thank you. Now let me come to the foundation of the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication. Herein, we are having a cosmocentric approach towards communication or towards life. What the anthropocentric approach is that man is the supreme power. Men are the superior beings, and it is for them that every other thing in this universe has been made. Everything else is for our comfort. Everything else is to help us survive, to help us develop as into superior beings. But a cosmocentric approach, on the other hand, insists that man is only an entity, only a part of the universe. He or she is not the supreme power or the supreme entity in the universe. Rather, every other entity is equal. We coexist, and there is nobody who has the upper position in the hierarchy. It is not a pyramid wherein the humans are placed on the apex and everything else is under them. It is a concentric circle, a circle wherein every entity, from even the smallest creature to all the other natural entities, the sun, the universe, everything in the cosmos is equally important. So herein, humans are made equal to everything else that exists in the universe, rather than being those species for which the universe has been made. The universe was not made for human beings. Human beings were made to be a part of that universe. So when we understand that, our egos deflate, we become, we try to perceive reality as it is. Why? Because we need to understand that we are not in any form, the powerful or the holders of power. We are not meant to be on the top of the hierarchy and to rule, to impose our rules, to impose our ideas on others. Instead, what should happen is that we should understand what should be an appropriate behavior um, for a human being in terms of a member of a cosmos, of a universe in which he or she exists. So a cosmocentric approach insists that human beings should be disciplined in their lives lives. They should behave in a manner which helps them in coexisting with all other species on this planet, and not just this planet, also any if there is life in any other form in the universe, we should be respectful towards that form of life and behave in a manner which helps us thrive together. So the very first attempt, is this slide visible? 1995, the model made
Ye-
by.
yes, ma'am, we can see this slide.
Okay, thank you. So, the very first attempt to develop a Gandhian model of nonviolent communication was made by Bode in the year 1995. And he insisted that there are four elements in the in the model of nonviolent communication, which is nonviolent speech and action, maintaining relationships and enrichment of personhood, openness and flexibility. Coming to nonviolent speech and action. When I talk about nonviolent speech, you see, words are weapons. I'm sure you must have heard that song. I don't remember the singer, but it's only words, and words are all I have to take your heart away. So a good number of conflicts in this, in the world are happening because of inappropriate speech and action. We should be mindful of what we are speaking. We should be mindful of what we are thinking as well, because our speech and action are dependent on our thoughts. So The way we manifest these thoughts, the way we manifest these feelings is very important. We should make use of such words which are positive, which have a positive influence on others, which generate positive outcomes as well. So, whenever you're talking to somebody else, you should make sure that the words which you are using, the communication which is verbal, is in is appropriately done, is mindfully done. You should not use words which are offensive, because that will increase the friction rather than decreasing the friction. You see, the entire world is in form of a machinery. We coexist and we are interdependent on each other. So as in, just like a car, the every part of a car should be in synchronization, and non-violent communication is in form of greasing, which reduces the friction and which makes the entire machinery work smoothly. So if your words and actions are such which generate hateful responses, you will not be able to convey, first, not be able to convey what you want to, and secondly, you will not be able to convince others. So you need to be mindful of the way you are speaking, and also be mindful of the way you are behaving. You should resort to gestures and actions which are non-violent in approach. For example, instead of frowning, you need to smile when conveying your thoughts. Second, maintaining relationships and enrichment of personhood. I will insist upon enrichment of personhood first and then maintaining of relationships. Non-violent communication is all about developing life sustaining skills, and these life sustaining skills are not developed in social pressure. Why is Gandhi so popular and his ideas termed to be evergreen? The reason is that he has based his philosophy in the deep rooted traditions of universal brotherhood, love, solidarity, and unity. His morality does not stem out of social pressures. You know, a good number of us will be behaving in an appropriate manner only to avoid any kind of social pressure or any social bashing. But Gandhi believed in the idea of morality as a fundamental of human existence. When you believe in uprightness and morality as the sole purpose of human life, as the sole foundation on which human life should be built, then you become a better person. You enrich your person, your own personality, and then you move towards maintaining good relationships with neighbors, with your family, with your friends, because as I have already explained, that human beings are a part of a universe. They are not the universe in themselves. They are not the rulers, and others are not our subjects. So we need to, it is a duty upon us to maintain good relationships in order to ensure a peaceful coexistence in the universe, not just on the planet, but in the universe. And the next element is openness. Now, here let me differentiate between what openness uh, we as youngsters think and what openness Gandhi had insisted upon. By the idea of openness means that there should be no secret intentions when you are communicating with the other person. Whatever is there in your mind should be put across openly, should be told to the other person. There should be nothing, there should be no hidden goals. Openness does not mean that you use words which are considered to be very frank and open. It means that in a very disciplined manner, you convey your feelings, your thoughts, your beliefs to the other person, so that the other person does not feel offended, and also you do not hide anything. You have kept no secrets, and that is why Gandhi insisted on free speech, also in public sphere, public discussions on any matter, and direct negotiations, so that there is nothing um, hidden or latent in any form. Also, another important element is flexibility. By flexibility is meant that you should always be willing to change into a better person, always be willing to convert your ideas as per the need of the situation. uh, you should be willing to understand the perspective of the other person, because you see, Gandhi believed that truth does not have a solidified form. It is in form of a liquid which keeps on molding itself as per the circumstances. So one needs to be flexible in approach in order to be a non-violent communicator. So these were the elements which were insisted upon by board. These elements form a very important part of the Gandhian model of non-violent communication developed by Dr. Vedavyas Kundu. Apart from these four elements, there are other elements which need to be discussed, and these elements, these form the key elements of the Gandhian model as which has been conceived by, which has been developed by Dr. Kundu. So the key elements here include interdependence. Interdependence, as in human beings should endeavor towards making not just their own life but also the life of other human beings, the fellow citizens, the fellow human beings better. So since we cannot thrive on our own, we cannot survive on our own, we need to understand that interdependence is crucial for our lives. And when we understand that, we try to become better human beings and try to respect others. We in a way recognize that we do not have an independent existence on our own. Right from the childhood we depend on our family, and also when we enter the social sphere, we need people in order to ensure that our life is comfortable, our life is meaningful. So interdependence is the key element of the Gandhian model of non-violent communication. Then Gandhi had always insisted upon non-violence, truth and non-violence, which I have placed. Okay, is the slide visible? The key elements.
No, ma'am.
Okay, I don't know what is the problem with this setup, but now
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So we need to understand that since we are interdependent, there is no choice with us other than communicating in a manner which is non-violent. Then impermanence of violence. You see, violence will always generate temporary result. For example, if you're slapping a child as a teacher, which earlier was a common affair, if you slap a child, the effect will be generating fear in the mind of the child that if I do not respond in a particular manner, I will be again punished. But this will not convince him or her of why he or she needs to behave in that particular manner. So the effect will be temporary or impermanent. Whereas when you try to convince the child through non-violent means, as in when you try to show them, see, observation and direct dialogues are the means to persuasion, to non-violent persuasion. So either through direct dialogue, through non-violent dialogue, or making him or her understand through observation that why this behavior will be better for his or her life, we can bring about changes which are permanent in nature. Then empathy. Putting yourself in other person's shoes is important. Only then you will be able to understand uh, their perception of life. Their, you know, what are their requirements can be understood only when you think from their perspective. When you try to be at someone else's place, you try to understand his or her circumstances, you try to understand why particular person is behaving in a particular manner, and then your own responses also become flexible as per the need of the situation, as per the need of that person. And that is why empathy is central to the Gandhian model of communication. Educating the opponent is important. By education, I mean that you need to convince the other person of the purpose of your purpose, of the purpose of your persuasion. As in, if I want to convince you that non-violent communication is important, I need to explain the benefits of non-violent communication to you. So by education, educating the opponent, I mean that you need to convince the people of the results that non-violent communication will yield, the results of why it will turn the world into a better place to live. So when you want to communicate in a non-violent manner for any purpose, xyz, any purpose, so whatever is your belief, whatever is your thought process, and whatever is your objective should be conveyed to the person through the in form of educating that very person. For example, when the freedom struggle movement happened, Gandhi kept on convincing people about the benefits of Swaraj or of being a sovereign. So, and also the opponents of why we need sovereignty, so that we can emancipate ourselves as human beings, as citizens. So education is very important in the model of nonviolent communication, being respectful, because we coexist. Whatever we give shall come back to us, and this is also Newton's third law of motion, I believe. To every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you give respect, you get respect. So therefore, being respectful is very important in order to communicate in a non-violent manner. If you're being respectful, you're being non-violent. Self-restraint. You see, individual, according to Gandhi, is a potential of change, but at the same time, that individual is a component of society. He or she is not meant to be the only person who lives in the world. So, therefore, our ambitions, our desires, our feelings need to be restrained in order to ensure that there is harmony in the society, in order to ensure that the social objectives and individual desires are balanced. So, we need to exercise discipline, we need to exercise self restraint, we need to be mindful of what we are doing. If I start using abusive words, somebody else who is carefully watching my behavior may, sometime in future, start behaving in the very same manner, and this will be detrimental to society as a whole. So therefore, as individuals, we should be mindful, we should be disciplined in our behavior. Moral and ethical values, as I have already discussed, that moral and ethical values form the foundation of the Gandhian model. The morality which stems out of the belief that human beings are meant to be kind, meant to be loving, meant to be friendly, meant to be, meant to have a spirit, a social spirit. So this is the foundation of human life. If that morality stems out of social pressures, it will not last long. So therefore, these ethical values which form the foundation of human civilization should be insisted upon everywhere, and this Gandhi also insists in his manner of communication. Truth and non-violence, of course, I have already explained that they are central to the Gandhian model of non-violent communication. Here, I would also like to insist that Gandhi, by self-restraint, meant that the laws of the country, the laws of the society, should be respected because they help people live in a better manner. Now, how can we be non-violent communicators? For this, Gandhi had insisted upon three H's: head, heart, and hand. So, to be non violent from head, you need to have thoughts which are compassionate, which are respectful. You need to have thoughts which are positive, which influence others in a constructive manner. And heart, you need to be full of love, compassion. You need to understand that all human beings are your brothers and sisters, and you should respect them as you respect your own self. Hand, your actions, whatever you're doing should be for the betterment of the society. You should work towards the emancipation of people. Whatever potential you have should be used for the betterment of the people, not just your own life, but also for the betterment of the people around you. So Gandhi had always insisted that in through these three H's, that you be non-violent in your, through your brain, you be non-violent through your heart, and also through your Hands by hands is meant through your actions. How can you be a non-violent communicator? To be a non-violent communicator, there are three C's which Gandhi had insisted upon. And these are courage, conviction, and confidence. You see, the path towards non-violence is not an easy path to tread. You need to be courageous enough to believe that whatever you're doing will someday yield you positive results. Though the path may be difficult, there will be many obstacles in the way of non-violent communication. Supposedly, you are behaving in a particular manner, you're being non-violent uh, in your words and gestures, but the opponent is not responding in the way which you want him or her to, and that might offend you in the initial stages. But then you need to be courageous enough to take up the same way, to take up the same route again. Be courageous enough to understand that yes, I can do it, I have to do it, and someday it will fetch me results. So the courage here means that you should not feel fed up of the route which you are following. Though the results may be delayed, they may be postponed, but nevertheless they will arrive. So you should keep your spirits high. Conviction is a strong belief in the path of non-violence, in the route which leads us towards becoming better human beings. So you should have a strong belief that non-violent communication will work someday, and the day will arrive soon. It is the day is not the day which is far away, but it will arrive soon if your efforts are persistent. So you should believe uh, in the idea of non-violence from your head, heart, and hand. That the conviction should come through your heart. You should be compassionate enough to understand that human beings, if they follow the path of non-violence, will eventually turn into to better beings, to elevated human beings. Confidence. By confidence is meant that whatever strategies you are adopting to make your communication, your manner of communication non-violent, you should have you should be confident about using those strategies. You should know that they are going to bring about a change, bring about a transformation in the opponent. So opponent, according to Gandhi, is only a potential friend, and this confidence one needs to have while following the path of non-violent communication. Because if you do not have the confidence in the strategy you are using, you will never be able to follow to effectively work towards being a non-violent communicator. And three L's: live and let live is the idea of the Gandhian model of non-violent communication, which insists that you are not the only person living on this earth, not just earth but also in the universe. See, these days we are moving towards finding life on other planets as well. So in order to understand that there are people existing somewhere else too, you need to understand that the manner in which we communicate makes the relationships, it builds the relationships, or it can destroy the relationships. So in order to ensure that these relationships are harmonious, you need to behave in a non-violent manner. Let me take you to examples from the contemporary events in the contemporary events which are happening worldwide. Give me a minute, guys. Let me just put this slideshow to an end. Okay. So, if we look at the events happening worldwide, we will realize how the words can turn into potential, weapons in form of, generating hatred. You see, there is nothing that we do to offend others except our words and gestures. So, our words and gestures should be disciplined, should be mindful, and they should impact others towards a better life, towards doing things which are good for humanity. What happens is, if I talk about religious fundamentalism, for example, you see a good number of these religious conflicts come into existence because we offend, in form, in some form of other, we try to offend the ideas, the principles which form the basics of a religion, and then in, and also our actions which may harm the, the sanctity of some religion, and then the conflicts come into existence. So we have been witnessing a good number of conflicts everywhere in the world. In Afghanistan, for example, recently what happened, we all know that it has roots in religious beliefs as well. And it is also Israel Palestine or anywhere in the world, it is through wrong communication that the conflicts are created. And Gandhi insists that you should understand that you are not the supreme entity in this universe. You should understand, you should be mindful of your place. You should understand that it is the world is controlled by some other power, and you are only a figment of his or her imagination. You are only to play here to play your own part, rather than thinking that you are you're going to transform the world into a place which is suitable to your desires and beliefs. So the Gandhian model is all about living and letting others live. It is all about understanding that you are not the person in this universe. You are just an entity. You're just a species. There are others also who live in this world, and you need to be respectful towards them. So your words, your gestures, your actions should be non-violent in nature. You should understand that if you are not non-violent in your approach, others also will be giving you the same thing in return. And if we keep on exchanging hateful words, hateful sentiments, if we keep on being violent in our approach to life, then the doomsday is not far away. So, therefore, understanding that human coexistence is important, is fundamental to our lives, is the essence of the Gandhian model of communication. One should try to persuade instead of influencing others through means of power. And this is how non-violent communication works. So, if you have any questions or any queries related to the Gandhian model of non-violent communication, the floor is open now.
Good evening, Mansi ma'am. Thank you so
Good
much
evening,
for
ma'am.
that comprehensive talk. I have two concerns, ma'am. On one of your slides, it was written a point about permanence or impermanence of violence. Could you just repeat that point? Was it
Sure,
impermanence
ma'am.
of violence or non-violence?
Impermanence of violence, yes.
Ma'am, as far as I
Violent
understand, the negative effect of violence is permanent. Do you agree? History bears witness to it that the negative effects of violence have been permanent. Which
Okay. So let's here refer to Marx, who had insisted that there should be a violent revolution to bring about a transformation in history. You see, violence will keep on changing its form. Sometimes it may be in form of suppression of people. You may have Hitler. You may have any kind of violence. You see, the Marxist revolution was not considered to be bad, or having some kind of detrimental effect on the society. But at the same time, the violence which Hitler resorted to is criticized even till date. You see, violence can never have a permanent effect. If this was so, the one violent episode should have not resulted in any kind of change in the society, right? So one violent, it may generate fear, and human beings have always have that potential to overcome that fear. But the effect which is brought by non-violent communication, it generates positive responses, and these positive responses are permanent. People do not want to overcome them in any form, but fear is a thing which everybody wants to overcome, and there will be some revolutionary who will help the society overcome that fear, and then the transformation will occur. Therefore, violence cannot sustain itself in long run. There will be eventually a change which will change the nature of change the nature of the feelings, the experiences what human beings undergo when they experience violent repression or suppression in any form, and it can be overthrown. But non-violence cannot be overthrown. Non-violence is permanent in nature. Violence can be resisted. You see, this is the beauty of non-violence. That fear, you see, is only a temporary form of belief, a temporary form of change in human life, and that fear can be overcome anytime. But love, compassion, solidarity are permanent virtues, and if they exist, nobody will try to change them. But at some point of time, you might be so frustrated that you want to overcome fear.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, am I
Yes, yes.
audible? I have
Yes,
lost the
yes,
network. Okay.
yes. Yes, I do understand your point that the effects of non-violence are permanent, okay, because they're positive. And actually, I was referring to the negative effect of violence could be everlasting on countries and generations. So,
You
in
see, they
those
can be
terms,
overcome. There can be a
yes,
desire to overcome these, and
yes,
there is every possibilities that these can be overcome.
yes, I agree. Thank you so much, ma'am. And ma'am, my second concern was I think I forgot what was it. It was towards the last part, I believe. Okay, let's give a chance to others while I recollect what my second question was. Thank you.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. May I ask, ma'am?
Sure, ma'am.
It is as regards the three C's:
Hanji. Yes.
conviction, courage, and confidence. Because you have read the topic in depth, perhaps you would be able to shed more light on the difference between courage and confidence in terms of practicing nonviolence. Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? Are you there, Mansi ma'am?
Hello. I'm so sorry. I'm having some network issues because of the rainfall. So, if you could please repeat your question, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. I wanted you to elaborate on the subtle difference between courage and confidence in terms of practicing nonviolence. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. When I talk about courage, courage means the ability to come back stronger every time your purpose, your goal, your objectives are challenged and defeated. Whereas when I talk about confidence, confidence means that you have an understanding of how the non-violent strategies, the non-violent, the whether the actions, verbal or non-verbal, whether your speech, whatever it be, is going to work. You need to believe that these things will eventually bring you a result, and you understand that how they work. You have confidence in their working, right? So
So
by
that's
coming,
related to conviction again.
conviction is it is the foundation of all these three. By conviction
Okay.
here I mean is that you believe that the non-violent the means to communication, the idea of non-violent communication is the basic of human life. You have firm faith in that. And for that matter, let me explain um, through any religious belief. You see, if you have a belief that this religion works for me, the foundations of these religions are suitable for harmonious existence in the society, you have a firm faith in that very particular religion that you are pursuing, right? Then your courage is that you keep on insisting upon your ways. You keep on coming back stronger every time your beliefs are challenged, right? So by conviction I mean that you firmly believe that yes, this is the core idea of human existence. So non-violence is the core idea of human existence. That is the belief. Confidence is in the ways which non-violent communication is going to work, right? The strategies, the mode of operation of non-violent communication, you should be familiar with how it is going to work, and that is what gives you confidence. Courage is the ability to come back stronger every time you are defeated. So this is the difference between these three C's. So if we talk about Gandhi, how Gandhi applied these, you see, Gandhi was courageous enough. It is not that he was not defeated. When he went to South Africa, he was defeated here like a good number of times as well during the freedom struggle. We cannot say that freedom was obtained overnight if the things had to be this effective. Non-violent communication or non-violent action takes its own course. It takes its time. So when he went to South Africa, he came back from England after obtaining a degree in law, and he could not become a successful lawyer here. So he went to South Africa. There he faced racism, and then he decided upon taking the path of non-violent action or sticking to satyagraha. And there, a good number of times, he was humiliated, he was betrayed, but then he had this courage to come back stronger every time, with the conviction that non-violent communication is going to work, and the confidence that this is the strategy I am going to adopt, and this is how it is going to work eventually, right? So this
Yes.
is how these three things.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your satisfactory response.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So anyone else, any other question or suggestions or anything you would like to share your views on the Gandhian model of nonviolent communication?
Yes, ma'am, if I may. So, as a
Sure.
summary of everything that you're breaking down, it is my understanding that essentially it's to be the change or to become the change that we wish to see as we implement the compassion and the empathy and share love throughout rather than violent communication. We take the stance of being compassionate, of taking the ladder and continually responding in a loving manner. If someone is being
Absolutely.
aggressive,
Absolutely.
if someone is being mean, then rather than responding in the same force, we take that opposite approach because we are modeling that which we wish to see.
Absolutely. This is what Gandhi had emphasized, that be the change that you wish to see in this world. So everything begins from an individual, and that individual needs to be mindful of his or her actions, and gradually everything, the surroundings are influenced in a positive manner. Certainly, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'm happy that I have been able to put across the idea. Uh,
Thank you very much. It was a very beautiful presentation. Like I've taken so much from it. Things that principles that I already apply, but it puts many more things into perspective. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to know, do these principles apply on a personal level or both personal and politically? Because why I'm asking that is my concern or something that has been going through my mind is sometimes you might be communicating and in your own thinking you believe it's not um, violent, it's they are non-violent. However, the person that is receiving the communication might not necessarily um, understand that communication. So and so as I'm listening to this presentation, I feel this could kind of work on a personal level, but if um, you are, yeah, challenging the system, for example, um, I'm not sure how, yeah, how this works. Thank you.
Ma'am, as regarding the challenging of the system, the organizations, the government, Gandhi had
Mm,
already done this during his lifetime. You see, through non-violent communication, through non-violent action, he could overthrow the foreign invaders, and that is how it happened. He was in his approach. He was not just non-violent at personal level, but also
mm,
non-violent in his approach towards how the freedom should be obtained. And that is why I'm sure you're aware of this the incident that happened in there was this one incident that happened during one of the freedom struggle events, that was non-cooperation movement. So you see, when satyagraha, there are different stages of satyagraha. One, it
mm,
begins with dialogue, wherein you persuade. You see, first you resort to constitutional means, in which you try to explain your point of view. You represent yourself, you send petitions, you send letters,
mm,
you try to convince the authority through newspapers or through, these days, through social media. Then there is this stage of persuasion through direct dialogues, through observation of how the things will work. But then even if these the second stage does not work, there is this third stage, wherein there are fasts which are done, there is civil disobedience which can be resorted to, there can be non cooperation, there can be strikes, there can be the processions which can be taken taken out in the streets. So when I talk about civil disobedience and non cooperation, these are also forms of non violent action in an organized manner. You see, non
mm,
violence,
mm,
by non violent action we mean that whatever we are doing should not be harmful to the opponent. Right, it should be only in the nature of convincing the opponent of your point of view. So whether it be civil disobedience or non-cooperation, so during these one there was this event, non-cooperation event. So what is non-cooperation, which is the third stage of satyagraha? It is the third step which we resort to in satyagraha. So non-cooperation is that you simply start disobeying the laws which the government has formed. So in this way you're not harming the government, but you're just keeping a distance. So during one of these movements, what happened was, there is a place in India, Chori Chora. The citizens got the people, sorry, citizens. we become later on once the nationality is obtained. So the people got agitated and they had put a police station to fire. So Gandhi then and there stopped this non-violent communication, because the core idea of his of his satyagraha is non-violence. So if it somehow channelizes into violence, there should be a reflection of what is happening in the society, how the things, how the people are moving forward, and then we should come to non-violent means. So Gandhi was a, he practiced, he preached non-violence everywhere, not just in his personal life, but also as a leader of the masses. He persuaded people to stick to the idea of non-violence. So it is not that it can the non-violence can be done only on a small scale. It can be done at a larger scale as well. The revolutions which have which have taken place in America in form of this uh, civil rights movement, uh, which was led by Martin Luther King Jr., and also the movement against racial discrimination, against apartheid in Africa, which was led by
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela. So these all are the perfect examples of how non-violence can work at a at a larger sphere, at a larger level.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. Okay, anything else, or should we call it a day now?
Maybe just one last comment.
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Um, yeah. So I feel, and you may correct me, ma'am, that practicing nonviolent communication, especially in working with politics, it needs a lot of patience, right? Because I was listening to you when you were responding to the previous person that asked about the three C's, that you need to have courage and be able to come back strong. And practically, I think um, sometimes as activists, patience is something that we lack, kind of. Well, for me, maybe. And I need to work on that a lot,
Let
because
me
when
quote
you
a
want
very
change, you want change now. Yeah.
let me quote a very funny example here. You see, these days people are very health conscious, and there are various kind of fad diets which are popular these days with the youngsters, with the youth. So what happens is that if you resort, no, violence is this kind of fad diet,
Yes.
like if you go on a keto or you try to harm
Mm.
your own body, you may get some results, but these results will be very harmful for your body, for your
Yes. Yeah. In
mind,
the long
in
run.
some way
Yeah.
or the other. But
Yes.
if you have a balanced approach in life, you eat right, you exercise
Mm.
right, you think right, eventually your health
Yeah.
will improve and that effect will be permanent. So yes, good
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
take time, and yes, the idea, the path of non-violence is certainly difficult, but it is not impossible to follow this route. We have
Yeah.
you already have an example in form of Gandhi, and there are other examples as well which are which are not so known to us.
Mm-hmm.
We a good number of people who have been practicing non-violence in their lives, whether, and a good number of people from not just from India, from other countries as well, whether it be Daisaku Ikeda, who runs a very good a very big organization rather in Japan. He's known as Japanese Gandhi. So there are a good
Mm.
number of people who are sticking to the principles of non-violence. Yes, it does take patience, because you might not always get the results which you are expecting. The results may
Yeah.
not be immediate, but eventually you will have a transformed society. You will have a transformed world. So it is
Yeah, you
just
need to
like,
believe on your strategies, like you said earlier.
yes, yes, certainly. You need to know how the things are going to work for you. So, a complete understanding of non-violent communication is all about knowing what is an appropriate behavior in which situation. So, once you become mindful of that behavior, you transform an individual, and this is a chain reaction. You change another person is going to change the other person, and eventually we will be able to bring about a big transformation in the society. So, yes, the route is difficult, but it is not impossible. It is only about disciplining oneself and being determined that come what may, you're going to stick to this, you stick to your own guns, you're going to stick to this principle. So, this is how it works. Certainly, it is difficult, but nevertheless, insignificant. It is not that if you avoid it, it is not that you will attain a permanent success. Your success will be temporary. So it is only through, good means lead to a good end. So
Yeah.
means are very important when you are deciding what end you are going to reach. So how longer you stay at your destiny will be decided only by the means which you resort to. And non-violent means are means which make your, once you reach your destination, you are going to stay there forever. So this is how it works. It will take a lot of patience for sure.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Okay, so I suppose we are done with the queries. So thank you so much for having me today. And this is only, you see, Gandhian model is very, very exhaustive. It is comprehensive, and I have given you the gist of what the model talks about. It is only about being better human beings every day. So if you understand that you are only a part of the universe, you need to respect others, you need to understand their point of view, and only then your identity, your point of view, your beliefs will be in a safer zone. Only then the purpose of communication is achieved. So that is why we should move towards enhancing our life sustaining skills and be better communicators in all ways. All the means which make us better person, which make us good communicators, should be resorted to. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. So, yeah, am I allowed to leave now?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Bye.
Oh,
Thank you.
one final quick
Sure,
question.
sure, sure, sure.
Is there a way to be able to reference your slide again? Just it's the curriculum is so amazing. I want to be able to go back and review again.
Ma'am, I didn't get your question. Thank you, Anandaji. Thank you.
Would there be a way to be able to go back and review and reference
Oh, okay,
again?
okay.
Because
So you want me to share my presentation with you?
would it be
Okay.
possible?
Yes, certainly. If ma'am, if you could please share with me your email ID, I will be sharing the presentation with you. So I can hand it over to Veda sir. Veda sir shall be sending it to the organization, and then
Okay, I'll put the email on the chat if that
sure, sure,
helps.
ma'am. Sure,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, can it be maybe made available to everyone in the meeting? Thank you.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, I will share it through Veda sir as well. If you want me to share it specifically, you may please share your email ID. But otherwise, I'll send it to Veda sir, and Veda sir shall hand it over to the department. Okay. So the entire session is live streamed on YouTube. Then you have the presentation there as well. But if you want it in the specific form, okay, I can then send it that also. Not a problem with me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am,
you.
for your
Thank you so
beautiful
much.
presentation.
Mhm.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much
you,
for a
everyone.
wonderful session, Mansi ma'am. We will meet in the next session on next Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.